starting with this 8/4. Some is left over from other projects. Some is some rough cut that I had to buy for this project. But most of it will be leftover pieces. I'll use some of my hardwood pieces over here for maybe bottom shelf. So there's going to be 2 tables, 22 by 22 by 24. They're going to be white oak, just finished with Osmo, no stain or anything like that. It's just going to be all natural. So we're going to break these down, and we're going to get the legs out of here, and we're going to get the stretchers and aprons, hopefully out of these pieces here for all the frame, and then we'll use some white oak I have up here, some 6/4 for the tops, and some thin pieces for the bottom shelves. So let's start.
Okay, so this project we're going to start by breaking down some of this lumber. It's going to be a lot of mill up to start out, a lot of repeat steps. So we're going to start here with a circular saw due to this piece being pretty big and this 8/4 oak, and it's not flush or straight, and I don't trust it on the miter saw. So I'm going to use a circular saw to cut it down, this piece, and then we're going to take it over to the jointer, try to get some straight edges and a flat face here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the 8/4 or the 6/4 and the 5/4. So you see how wonky this is. So we're going to have to really work this over with the jointer to get a good straight edge to make this nice and clean. And then we're going to start breaking down the frame pieces first, and then we'll start breaking down the bottom shelves and the top pieces later. So here we have a little bit of a mishap. We have a piece of metal that was in this white oak, whether it been an old screw or nail or a bullet casing or something that shot out. Thank God it just missed me, and I had to replace the blades. That's the bad part. But otherwise, the steps we're going to be doing is going to be cutting this wood to rough length, whether it be with the circular saw or the miter saw, run through the jointer to get straight edge and a flat face, and then to the planer, and then the table saw, and then keep repeating these steps, and then cut the final length with the miter saw typically once we get everything set.
Okay, so this is before, this is after. Initial mill up, we just cut the rough length so far. Put it on the joiner and ran to the planer. So now we're going to, this is going to be for the legs, so we're going to cut this in half, about 24 inches each. The legs are going to be 23 when all said and done, but we're going to cut these, and then we're going to trim up the 8 legs here with this piece here, and then this piece here will be for the stretchers and aprons and everything else. So let's start this now. We'll cut this on the tables. We'll cut this in the miter saw first, and then we'll take a table saw and start ripping it to its rough final length, or fit width and length.
Okay, so these upside down V pieces we're going to start cutting up now with the miter saw, but we're not going to install until towards the end of this video. So I have a little more real estate to go in to sand the frames and I'll put the shelves in and etc. So the V's we're just going to mill up and cut up. We're going to run a chamfer on these like we are with the rest of the pieces, but we're going to cut and validate these now, get these ready. That way they're just ready to brad nail and glue later in the video. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to run a chamfer on all the frame pieces, including the upside down V's. So the aprons and stretchers, we're going to run a slight chamfer with the router table. You don't need a router table to do this. You could use just a trim router or even a hand plane or aggressive sand. But we're going to use the router table here. This is a cheap little tool and it works well. And I'm also going to sand everything at an 80 grit. That way it's ready for
so everything's officially milled up, sanded, chamfered on the bottoms and tops, all four edges on the legs, sanded to 80 grit. I'm going to sand it again when after I assemble, take all the glue off up to 120 grit. Then we'll finish it with osmo. But now we got to get set up for the joinery. So I'm going to mark at the bottoms. So be it. Here. 25 takes or 3/4 inch. Okay, so here I want to find the center of this apron and stretcher here. So I'm going to take my caliper, which is in centimeters, and it's going to be 40 centimeters. So here I want to get the middle. So I'm going to move my domino plate. You can move it up and down. I'll move it to 20. Therefore, I will get the center, as you can see that, of the apron. So the mortises will be in the center.
So you see I'm going to be using the Festool Domino here for my loose mortise tenon joinery. I decided to use that over dowels since I want these tables to be a little stronger, and it also makes it a quicker work of this rather than the dowels. The dowels I could probably use 4 or so to mimic the glue surface and grain of the domino.
For the reveal for the inside reveal, that is, it's about 2 centimeters. So I'm going to add another 2 centimeters to this 20. There. I'm going to lock that in. So now we'll come over here. And we'll put a mortise here. So that should add the reveal to it. They should line up perfectly then. Alright, let's try that. And we're also going to send it to the wider width here. So it's going to be tight here. So we're going to make sure we don't go over the top here. But we may. Not a big deal if we do. But alright, so let's do this now. 6 by 40 millimeter. So we set our depth to 20, so this is half of 40 is 20. Just another thing to keep in mind when you're using your domino. I don't really have enough real estate to do the wide setting on both, so I'm just going to do it on one and do the other tight. So I'll do the top tight and the bottom at a looser width set and see if that will work out better on this other. I mean, it will still work. It's going to almost be like it's just a true mortise tenon, technically, because there's not a lot of space, not a lot of real estate on these structures and aprons. So it's always going to be like an old school tenon going through this mortise here. So it should work, but I want to make it, see if I can fix this one. I may replace this leg, we'll see. Okay, that's a lot better. It's going to be tighter to get it in, but we'll try it. Another thing I like to do is I like to mark a number each connection. So this is 2, 2. Okay. This will be 3. This will be 4. And we still have to do these guys up here too for the other aprons. Okay. Let's do the bottoms now.
As you can see here, I'm setting the width plunger for the mortar, sir. One on a high, wide set and one on the tighter setting. Due to just not enough real estate with these smaller aprons, that was a mistake by my part. They'll still work. They're just going to have it's going to be very, very tight. That's all, which is fine. And these go together real good.
So let's start putting these guys together.
Okay, so very later in the day, we're going to just test the bottom shelves after the frames are dried up after a few hours. Now we're going to start cutting the top tabletops, which is going to be the 6/4 white oak, and we're going to follow the same steps and principles that we followed earlier. Just cutting the miter saw joint plane and strip, cut the final width on the table saw. It's kind of more like a Okay, so here with the tops, I cannot have any seams when I'm going to laminate. So I'm finding a little bit of little tiny gaps here. So we're really going to work this over on the jointer to get flush and seamless joints. Now we're ready to start laminating, and we're going to use glue and biscuits, and we're marking our spots now, and we're going to use the biscuit joiner. Okay, so it's the next day. We're going to clean up these tops now. So first we're going to start with the track saw to cut the final length and shape these up. And we're going to use the track saw. You can use the circular saw with a straight edge. I've done that for years. But we're going to just clean these up, use the one as a template, clean the second one up. Then we're going to run a hand plane. And then we're going to do a lot of sanding and also run a chamfer on the edges. The sanding will be start with 80 grit, then we'll work up to a finished sander at 120 grit. I also like to run the chamfer on the bottom feet to prevent from any kind of tear out. So here I'm putting these little cleat pieces in. I have a little spacer that's the same thickness of the bottom shelves that we milled up earlier. And now we're just going to put these cleats in to make sure everything fits. Earlier we just had some glue, so now we're gonna glue, clamp, and brad nail these in. Now we're back onto the upside down V's. We're gonna clean up the tops first, remove any glue, and do one last sanding with the detail sander. And then we're gonna put the upside down V's in with some glue and 18 gauge brad nails. Okay, so now I'm going to mount the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the Z-clip slots that I cut out with the biscuit joiner earlier in the video. And we're going to use these little slots that are about a 1/4 inch from the tops of the tops. And we're going to put the Z-clips in. First, we're going to measure everything out, make sure it's spaced out correctly, and everything's laid out correctly. And then we're going to use a self-centering drill bit, and we're going to drill pilot holes, and even though these are self-tapping screws I'm using, but in the hardwoods like oak, I like to use the drill bit. Then we're going to impact in about 3/4 of the way, and then we're going to hand tighten with a Phillips head screwdriver just to make sure everything's nice and snug, but not too snug. You want this to have a little play here, as you see, so that way the wood can move through seasonal wood movement and not splitting your joints. So this order is pretty much done. We're just going to tighten everything up, button everything up, and ship out to the client. The client seemed to love them. They came out very nice. They were identical tables, built with a lot of work was involved with this, for something that seems so simple. But if you take your time, you can make nice quality furniture on a half decent budget, and make nice profits from tables like this. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, just let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe if you find any value in this video. Thanks for watching. Go out and build something.